Good evening, Internet peoples. I'm rocking it old school here in my crib in Corinda, the new headquarters of the Siddhapati Sankirtan Party. And I'm continuing with my series on playing bass and Kirtan by popular request. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about preparation and a little bit about style. And of course you're going to hear about my style. There are different ways that you can play Kirtan, bass and Kirtan. And the way that I play is very heavily influenced by Tower of Power, Francis Rocco Prestia and Dave Garibaldi. And the way that they play together is they fit together like a hand and a glove. The bass and the drum are like inseparable. If you watch videos of them playing, starring Prahlad's arm there, if you watch videos of Tower of Power playing, listen to the recordings, it's very difficult to separate the bass and the drum because you can't. They're inseparable. The bass is playing, Rocco's playing on Dave's drumming. And you can find fingerstyle funk by Rocco Prestia on YouTube, which is how I first found Tower of Power. And Rocco, he's kind of the Chuck Norris of bass playing. He even looks like Chuck Norris. So I think the thing about that is that if you're playing bass in a kirtan, one of the things that can happen easily is you can overplay on the bass. And one of the comments that I've heard repeatedly from different people is, you know, we had this bassist playing in the kirtan, but he was a frustrated guitarist. So he was playing lead breaks through the whole thing. My personal approach to bass in kirtan is that the bass should be felt and not heard. So basically what you do is you play on the drummer, you play with the drummer, with his kick or the bottom end of his drum or the big end or the kick drum. You play on that and you play along with the melody of the singer. So you have a kirtan leader playing harmonium or guitar perhaps, and then you have a drummer. And if you're sitting in with visiting kirtanias, as I often do here in Australia, they come through, I play bass for them, you're going to have someone who's leading the kirtan and they're obviously happy with the way that they lead the kirtan and the kind of chord changes that they do. And you're going to have them traveling usually with a drummer, or they'll have a local drummer that they've selected or asked to play, so they're also happy with the drumming. So you know they're happy with the melodic structure of the kirtan, you know they're happy with the drummer, and so if you simply play the melodic structure of the kirtan on top of the drum, then they're going to be happy with that. The other thing that it does is that it really reinforces that beat. The drumming's happening and then the bass comes in on top of it, inseparable. All it does is empower the drum even more. And this is something that you can do if you do recording. It's an R&B trick, is you find out the fundamental of the kirtan. Let's say you've got a recorded kirtan. It's got no bass in it and you want to just like add some bass. This is automated. Find the fundamental tone of the kirtan. If it's in the key of D, then it will be, you know, a D. You get a low D. You put a tone generator on a channel, and you put a noise gate on that channel with the tone generator. So the tone generator is just pumping out a sine wave at one particular... Why are you giving me this?
There's no place to put it in the kitchen.
Yeah, stick it on that front one.
No,
right
I need space to grab the thing.
Okay. Just going to give Prahlad a hand here at cooking. Now you come here a bit closer so I can grab it around the side.
Be careful, Todd.
Yeah, okay, so you just get to me. Let go. I got it.
I need the
Okay.
tea towel.
You take the tea towel. Great. So, you take the tone generator. Here's one we prepared earlier. And the tone generator is pumping out the sine wave that's at the fundamental of the kirtan. It has a noise gate on it. And what you do with that noise gate is you side chain it to the kick drum. So either the bottom end of the mridanga, the bottom end of the tabla, the cajon, the kick drum of the kit, whatever the drum is, you side chain it to that so that whenever the drum hits, boom, the noise gate opens and the tone comes through, and then it has the release will determine how quickly the gate opens, and then the attack will determine how quickly it opens, and the release will determine how quickly it closes down. Yeah, be careful with that, don't burn it on the stove. How it will close down. So what it will do is it will just, whenever the drum hits, with the fundamental tone coming through. So if you put a longer release on it, it'll go or with the shorter release. So basically you do the same thing with the bass guitar. When you're playing in the kirtan, you play on top of the drum, you lock into the drum, dun, 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 and you hit the notes, of the structure of the kirtan. And in that way, the bass, it becomes very transparent in a way. It becomes imperceptible. You can't really hear what the bass is like. Afterwards, a lot of times people say to me, I couldn't hear the bass at all. Actually, the bass was fully in the house, but there's no way you could distinguish it from the drum or from the melodic structure of the kirtan. So if you watch Tower of Power, if you watch Rocco Prestia, and you can get, if you go to www.faststrings.com, faststrings.com, go to faststrings.com and download Sitting In with Tower of Power's Rocco Prestia. And it's got a bunch of play-along tracks there. I recommend that one. I recommend, I think it's called Play Along 70s Disco and Funk Bass. And there's another one, I think it's Ed Friedland's Reggae Bass Lines. Are you ready to take this away?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you can grab it with one hand there. Hang on. Grab that one without that, and then put that hand underneath with this. No. Fold this over. Let go. Fold this over here. Okay, careful. Good. I think Ed Friedland's reggae bass lines. So there's a really good reggae bass line one. There's a disco funk, 70s disco and funk bass, and Sitting In with Tower of Power's Rocco Prestia. So what you can do is you get these bunch of different ideas from the disco funk one and the reggae one, and every now and then in the kirtan you bust out something like that. At some particular point to create a groove of some description, you bust out one of those, but the rest of the time you lock in like Rocco Prestia. And again, I'm just talking about how I play. You'll come up with your own thing. But what I find with that is that, again, because the singer is happy with the melodic structure of the kirtan, because they're happy with the drummer, then it's all good if you just lock in on top of that. And then if at 1 point or 2 points or whatever you bust out some funky groove, then it really makes it stand out. Whereas if you're just doing funky grooves all night, after a while people are like, dude, this isn't like the bass show, So like Dave Stringer says, whatever serves the chant. So I find that locking with the drummer really increases the potency of the groove and of the meditation on the chant, and that every now and then busting out something funky, allows you to kind of express yourself and to feel like, yeah, I did that. I did something. You get that feeling. And also, because you kind of tune in with the drummer during the kirtan, when it comes time for you to bust out something like that, it can really go off because you've built up that relationship, and then you've followed the drummer through the whole evening or whatever, and then when it comes time for you to bust something out, the drummer is more than happy to go there with you and to bust out some new funky kind of groove. And so I think the other thing that's important then is practicing with a metronome and just practicing really slow, solid rhythm. So I'm going to show some practical exercises that I use for working on timing and steadiness and groove, and then a few of the melodic kind of things that you can use, because it's important to develop the ability to figure out what the kirtan is, because a lot of times you'll sit in the kirtan and there may not be chord charts for it, so you have to pick it up as you go. So I'll show you some exercises that you can use to do that. So yeah, it's a little bit about style and my style, my particular way of approaching things. You'll find your own, but www.faststrings.com, it's got basically every instructional bass video that you can imagine there. And the most important thing is to get that solid groove, lock in with the drummer, and keep it solid. My approach in kirtan, bass should be felt and not heard. Keep it real.